Hi, not I today, as we are starting the Italian summer temperature incompatible with wearing a tie. But today I would like to talk about a problem that comes up regularly, or a question better that comes up regularly when we are discussing migration. That is what to do with the UI. Typically, companies want to migrate their code base that contains important business logic, very frequently ERPs, to another language so that they can solve the problem with not finding talent, or this language being difficult to integrate or not as productive as other programming languages, or having a poorer ecosystem, less libraries, not as mature IDEs, and so on. And when they do so, it's clear that they want to port the business logic. But typically, in addition to the business logic, they have some form of UI that they're using in the current system. And the question is what to do with this UI. Depending on the system, this could be a console-based UI where they draw simple form, for example, and they are limited in the characters that they can use. They typically have a green on a black kind of interface. Now, what to do with it? There are several options. One option, and this is the one that most client goes for, is simply throw away the UI and rewrite it. Rewrite it in according to the principle of very different interfaces, because maybe the original interface was designed 30 years ago for people using console-based interface on their desktop computers. Now they want an interface that is suitable for very different kind of users that are using accessing the system from the mobile phone, from the tablet, from different kind of computers. So it's difficult to adapt the principle of the existing UI. There are also clients that instead say, you know what, maybe this is not fancy, maybe it doesn't look great, but our people are used to this kind of interface. They're very productive with it. They can use it blindfolded. They know all the shortcuts. They know, that they need to press tab 3 times to jump to that field. Then they feel it and they press F3 or have something, and so they're extremely productive. They're used just internally. So you know what, we want to replicate the UI to look exactly as it is. So maybe put it in a browser if you want. We just want the very same thing, and this is doable, not particularly challenging. What is very difficult is I'm jumping ahead. Another option is to migrate the interface as is to some extent, and then start reorganizing the interface. Now, this reorganization is typically performed manually, not automatically. So maybe, I starting from a screen that has 10 widgets, I produce a web page that fit these 10 widgets, and then I realize that I have more space, and so maybe I combine what they were before 3 separate screens into one, for example. Or I use components that I didn't have on the original system, like tabs. Or maybe, I do things like replacing pagination with infinite scrolling. And so I generate a first version of the UI that is basically the transposition of the original UI. And from there, I take a design and say, okay, make it nicer or make it appropriate for this time and age. And doing this transformation, this reorganization, relayouting, restyling of the application, automatically this is something that Some clients will be interested into, but it's typically very difficult to do. I mean, if there are specific patterns like per place pagination with infinite scrolling, okay, we can implement those specific transformations. But in general, rethinking how you interact with the application is very difficult. What can be done automatically is, for those systems where this is necessary, is to separate the logic that has to do with the presentation from the logic that has to do with the business logic. So, for example, if you have a Delphi application where you are intermixing presentation, the presentation concern with the data manipulation concern, to some extent you can separate those. So that is a limited automated refactoring that you can do while reshaping, reorganizing, rethinking the application. Maybe that could be a venue where we can experiment UIs, or you can just pay a designer that will do probably a better job. Okay, so I wanted just to share these thoughts. So I hope summer is reaching also your place, well, depending on which hemisphere you are. And I will see you soon. Bye.